Far up in the misty Scottish Highlands, a boy named Ethan was spending a quiet evening watching TV with his sisters and cousins. Laughter and chatter filled the room, until an eerie wailing siren cut through the air outside. Ethan's expression hardened. Without saying much, he quickly shut the door and told the children not to move. But the kids could hear chaos outside, shouts, banging, strange guttural noises, and their fear grew. Ethan stepped toward the door and called for his father. Before he could get an answer, the door began to rattle violently, as if something was trying to force its way in. The lock gave way. The door slammed open, and hideous, pale-skinned, bloodshot-eyed creatures burst into the room. These weren't ordinary attackers. These were the infected. They lunged straight at the girls, ripping into them with teeth and claws. Ethan froze in horror, shielded by the door, unnoticed in the frenzy. Seizing the chance, he slipped away, but as he dashed through the house, he saw another nightmare, his own mother, pinned down and being torn apart in the next room. Everywhere he turned, his relatives were changing, skin turning gray, eyes burning red, snarling like wild animals. Ethan forced himself out into the cold night air, but outside wasn't safer. The village was swarming with infected. Heart pounding, he ran to the church, hoping to find his father. But the priest didn't seem frightened. Instead, he welcomed the chaos. To him, this was Judgment Day, and the infected were saved souls. He pressed a golden cross into Ethan's hand and told him to have faith. That faith didn't last long. The windows shattered as more infected poured in. Ethan bolted for the door, but his father stayed behind, convinced this was his path to salvation. The creatures overwhelmed him instantly, biting deep until he, too, became one of them. The plague was called the Rage Virus. It spread across the UK with terrifying speed. Continental Europe sealed its borders, isolating the island. Over the years, the mainland became a wasteland, silent except for the roaming packs of infected. 28 years later, survivors had carved out a fragile life on Lindisfarne Island, cut off from the mainland by a tidal causeway. It was a small, self-sufficient community, fishing, farming, and, when necessary, defending themselves from the infected who tried to cross. One bright morning, a young boy named Liam was about to face his first test, learning how to kill an infected. His father, Daniel, had prepared breakfast, but it was interrupted by the sound of his sick wife, Clara, calling from the bedroom. She was weak, often confused, sometimes forgetting what was happening around her. When she overheard that Liam's training would be today, she became distressed, but eventually calmed down. Outside, the villagers gathered at the gate to wish Liam luck. Mara, one of the leaders, reminded him of the rule: if you leave the island, you can return, but no one will come looking for you if you don't. Crossing the tidal causeway, Daniel told Liam stories about the old world, about cities far from the sea, about crowded streets and bright lights. Liam struggled to imagine such things. They reached the mainland, moving cautiously through the woods. Their first encounter was with a slow, crippled infected, distracted by a bird pecking worms from the ground. Liam drew his bow, let the arrow fly, and struck true. Another infected came from behind, but Daniel swiftly dropped it. Noise attracted more. Daniel killed another, but when a third appeared, Liam asked to let it go. Daniel agreed, proud of his son's instinct for mercy, though mercy was dangerous here. Deeper in the forest, they found a grotesque scene. An infected hung upside down with a bag over its head, strange symbols carved into its back. Someone had captured it while human, left it to turn, and tied it as bait. Daniel urged Liam to finish it, but the boy hesitated. The creature broke free, lunging. Liam's arrow struck its head just in time. Signs of something worse appeared: a half-eaten animal, its head and spine jammed into a tree. Daniel recognized the work of an alpha infected, larger, smarter, and far deadlier than the rest. They moved faster. When they reached an open field, they spotted a whole horde with an alpha at the front. The chase drove them back to an abandoned house, where they scrambled into the attic. Hours passed. The alpha didn't leave. Daniel explained that killing one required far more arrows than they carried. Liam felt guilty for missing shots, but Daniel reassured him this was his first hunt and had done well. That night, Liam dreamed of his mother drowning. He woke to find the house shaking, not a dream, but real. They escaped moments before the roof collapsed, running toward the island. The tide was rising, but still shallow enough to cross. Suddenly, birds scattered overhead. The alpha appeared on the causeway. Liam slipped in the water, but Daniel dragged him up. They ran as the guards at the gate readied their bows. Flaming arrows finally brought the alpha down, allowing the pair back inside. That night, the village celebrated Liam's return, and his first kill. But the boy wasn't comfortable with the cheering over death. The noise drove him outside, where he caught sight of Daniel slipping away with another woman. Later, Liam learned from his friend Noah about a man named Dr. Harrington, whom Daniel refused to discuss. The next morning, Liam pressed Daniel to let Harrington examine Clara. Daniel told a chilling story. Years ago, they'd found Harrington surrounded by neatly arranged corpses, smiling as he dragged them toward a fire. The argument turned heated, ending with Daniel striking his son. Liam retreated to Clara's side, knife in hand to keep his father away. The following day, Liam set a barn ablaze to lure the villagers away, then took Clara and slipped through the gate. He promised her a doctor would help. That night, they took shelter in a small building. Liam fell asleep on watch, only to wake with a dead infected nearby. Clara had smashed its skull herself. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the mainland, soldiers were fighting for their lives against a massive horde. Only 3 survived long enough to escape into a tunnel, only to meet an alpha, who decapitated one man with terrifying ease. Liam and Clara continued traveling. Her condition worsened. They stumbled upon a gas station, but fumes inside made it hard to breathe. The infected followed them in, until a soldier named Owen appeared, firing into the crowd. The gunfire ignited the fumes, erupting into an explosion that wiped out the attackers. Owen joined them, helping carry Clara. Along the way, they came upon an abandoned train. Inside was a heavily pregnant infected woman. Clara showed compassion, helping deliver her baby. To their shock, the infant was human. Owen didn't trust it, but before he could act, an alpha attacked, killing him instantly. At the last moment, Dr. Harrington appeared, tranquilizing the alpha. He took them to his eerie, bone temple, a shrine of skulls and skeletons. After testing Clara, he revealed she had terminal cancer. In private, Clara asked Harrington to end her suffering. Liam, confused and desperate, couldn't understand why she couldn't be cured. Harrington spoke of memento mori, the idea of remembering death, and choosing the right moment. Clara handed Liam the baby, gave him one last look, and walked into the forest with Harrington. Hours later, the doctor returned with her clean skull, which Liam placed at the top of the bone tower. The alpha, Harrington called him Magnus, returned. The group hid underground, but Magnus broke through. Liam injected him with a powerful sedative, saving Harrington's life. Liam left the island's gate a basket with the baby, now named Clara, and a note saying he was leaving for good. Daniel found it too late, the tide was high, and his son was already gone. 28 days later, Liam was surviving alone on the mainland. When infected appeared, he took them down with calm precision. More approached, but then someone shouted in surprise. It was Ethan, now older, wearing his father's cross. He had his own crew, and together they fought off the attackers with deadly efficiency. After the battle, Ethan grinned. "You fight well," he told Liam. "We should stick together." And for the first time in weeks, Liam allowed himself a small smile.